Today we are looking at the Game Settings tab in the Freemium Editor. The settings on this screen are basically a miscellaneous collection of things that weren't large enough to justify their own screen, but also didn't really fit anywhere else, so they kind of ended up here. Let's start by looking at the support options. These are just URLs. They're not required by the Freemium Starter Kit, but they will be required by Google and Apple. So once you have them created for your Google and Apple accounts, you might as well link them here. And that way, if you decide to create links in the game to these pages, it's a simple API call away. Next is the in-app review. This is the typical thing where the game pops up a screen that says, hey, would you like to review our game? And if the user says yes, then they go to the store page and conduct the review. If they say no, then it usually just closes. The first important thing you need to note here is that in order for this work, you need to download and install the Google Play in-app review plugin for Unity. Provide a button here that will open the web page that gives you everything you need to get started installing it. Once it's installed, you can click and turn on this checkbox, which will enable the plugin. If you turn on this checkbox before you install the Unity plugin, you will get compiler errors. The first bit of information this thing needs to know is the app ID for iOS, and you get that when you create your store page on the Apple App Store. The next thing is the rating threshold. What happens here is this is a completely optional section, but what I like to do is ask the user how they would rate my app. And if they say they will rate it 4 or 5 stars, then I take them directly to the App Store or Google page. If they say they'll rate it between 1 and 3 stars, then what I do is I open a support email and allow them to express to me whatever it is they think is wrong. This is the threshold on where that divide is. So if you only want to hear from people who would rate 1 or 2 stars, or if you want to hear from people who would rate 4 stars or less, then you simply adjust this slider accordingly. And then this is the email address that their email would go to. So when it opens up their default emailer on their phone, it'll pre-populate this address and it'll pre-populate this subject. And so then they only need to fill in a few details and send away. Next up are the starting values. For coins, gems, keys, and spins. Coins and gems are obvious. Keys and spins, I will explain them later on in videos for chess and games of chance. For now, just know that they exist. These values can be anything you want. Most people probably prefer to set theirs to 0. I like to just give a small amount to get the player started so that as soon as they open the store, they can buy something small, or when they open the game of chance, they've got to spin right away to give it a try. Next up is health and energy, or lives and mana if you prefer. Doesn't really matter what you call them. You may use one or both of them in the game. Simply use the tracking checkboxes to turn them off if you don't want to use them. The starting value and max value are pretty simple. Just set them to whatever fits your needs. The regen interval in seconds, that is how long after losing a health or losing one energy before the system will automatically regen a new one. This even works while the player is offline. Simply set the value to 0 if you don't want it to regenerate. The reward video is the system automatically allows the player to watch a 30-second ad in exchange for more health and energy. You can actually control how much they get. And what this is the delay between allowing them to do it a second time. So if you're awarding 5 health for a 30-second video, and this is how long they must wait to watch the ad again, you can easily just set that to 0 if you want them to be able to click away. The next section is stars. As you know, stars are typically the reward given to indicate the player's performance in a given level, somewhere between 1 and 3 stars. But it is completely optional, and you may award as many stars as you like per level. Like with health and energy, if you don't want the system to track stars, simply turn it off with the checkbox. Start and maximum stars are same as with health and energy. And you see here max stars set to 0, which means there is no maximum. As for stars unlock levels, what happens when this is checked is in the level editor. If a level is locked, you can set how many stars are required to automatically unlock that level. So if say level 4 requires 5 stars to access it, the level will remain locked until the player achieves 5 stars, and then it will automatically unlock. The last section is editor settings. In editor settings, this very first section, target screen size, does have an impact on the game itself, but the rest, camera offset and log level, do not impact the game at all and are only for convenience while developing. So target screen size. In developing a UI to scale properly to different size screens for various devices, you'll want to set the target width and target height in the canvas renderer for the UI. And when you develop your screens to that target width and height, then when you run it in the actual game on a different size screen, it will scale proportionally to fit that screen. Freemium Starter Kit has a UI mechanism. It automatically generates these render canvases and scales the UI to fit. But to help you out with this, we use the target width and target height inside the editor to draw a purple box that shows you where your target screen size would be. So as long as you build your UI inside this purple box, everything should be right where you place it on any device that you run it on. For the camera offset, what's happening here is the game uses a overlay camera to display the UI. And so in development in the Unity scene editor, that camera actually shows up and is visible. It's not visible during the games, you don't have to worry about that, but in the editor it is. And in the event that you find the camera showing up in a place that you need to work with, you can change this to move it somewhere else. And these values can be whatever you want and as far away as you want. And I just use it to get the camera out of the way. So the last value, log level, is the Freemium Starter Kit logs a lot of information to help you debug and help you see what's going on within the kit itself when you're developing. And the log messages can be overwhelming. This allows you to restrict the log messages to only see various ones. You can see all of them or none of them or only errors, whatever you like. And it just makes life a little bit easier when debugging. One last thing, for more information on the use of the target width and target height, please see the video on Screen Builder.